Welcome back to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited for my guest today, Chuck Destro, Destro Machines. Not going to lie, I am a Gen X kid, so anytime I hear the name Destro, I'm thinking G.I. Joe, but in the swimming world, it means completely different. Chuck, thank you for joining us here on the Warm Down Pool.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Glad to be here. Yeah, the Destro name. A lot of guys your age love it. He eventually did small arms trading. I don't think I'm going to get there, but I'm doing business. So hopefully doing him a little bit of justice.
Well, you both are entrepreneurs. You just kind of found your ways in different areas. Him in the arms trade and the plated silver face. You wore a Speedo and you're building cool toys for swimming. So I want to talk to you about your journey into the sport of swimming. I know you're a native of the Pittsburgh area, Western PA. This is going to be hard for me because I'm sure you're a Steelers fan and I am a Browns fan, so that's gonna hurt me. But I think we'll be able to get through it. But talk to me about your journey into the sport and ultimately your journey into the world of engineering, which then led you to combine these two things.
Yeah, I have a little bit of an unorthodox background, I guess, or maybe some people can relate, but I started swimming at a young age because my mom didn't want me playing football. My sister was doing it, so I got into age group swimming that way. I was doing the typical, come home from school, wait a half an hour, go to swim practice, hour and a half, 2 hours. Did that till maybe 12 years old, and I just wanted to play with my friends. So said goodbye to swimming for a little bit. Got into high school. Those guys needed some more good swimmers on the team, and they're like, "Hey, we remember when you swam a few years ago. Do you want to give that a try?" So yeah, I got started back that way, and it was a great decision because that's what allowed me to actually get to such a great school as Purdue. Academically, I never would have gotten in. So I needed that edge for swimming to get in there. Swim at Purdue, and again, great decision. That got me into engineering, became a captain there. That gave me leadership qualities. I moved on into my first engineering job, manufacturing engineering. We were making plumbing equipment. And then I moved on to Subaru, worked on the new Outback design quite a bit there. Got tired of that, had to move back to Pittsburgh because of some family reasons. And at that point, I decided to go full force into Destro Machines. So that's kind of the abridged version.
You mentioned you went to Purdue there, phenomenal engineering program, one of the best in the country, no question about it. I spent time in Crawfordsville, about 30 minutes south of there. So I had been to that facility many a times. I was actually around when it first opened. So I remember those days, great facility. But a guy who just announced he was stepping down back in March, Dan Ross, 38 years. Talk to me about Dan Ross's influence on not just Purdue swimming, but yourself in general, because I knew Dan from the coaching side. And I knew his family, his wife was from Crawfordsville. I watched the kids grow up. I know how much he meant to that program, but how much did he mean to you as an athlete?
I mean, Dan, he was definitely the father figure of the team, for sure. I mean, he makes you feel welcome. He makes you feel warm. He's this big teddy bear type of personality. So 100%, I wouldn't have wanted to swim for anybody else. He makes that team. He makes the culture, which is really what a head coach needs to do. That culture there of not just making good swimmers, but good people. You hear that a lot from coaches, but he really backs it up. And he cares about you academically. He cares about you, your personality, and the man you turn into. So I owe a ton to Dan. I owe a ton to him. He was a great coach at Purdue. Excited for what's to come, but got to thank him, tip my hat to him for sure.
Dan had a speech at the CSCA convention in 2022, and I had talked with him a couple of years before when we were in Myrtle Beach for convention, and I asked him, like, how much more are you going to do it? He goes, I'm in the fourth quarter, and that was kind of the speech that he gave us. You're in 4 quarters of your life, and the first quarter is all excitement, the energy's high. Second quarter, third quarter, and he goes, I'm in the fourth quarter now, and he goes, I don't think there's not going to be any overtime in this game. And he gave this wonderful speech about, because he had taken some time, taken a little bit of a sabbatical because he wanted to really reevaluate some things for himself and rediscover that passion he had for the sport. And a year later, not only is the fourth quarter over, but that's the end of a career, and he left an indelible mark on Purdue University, Big Ten swimming. He was the Stedman Award winner for the CSCA for his accolades, and three-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, all these things. But the one thing that and you said it when you mentioned there, he was a father figure. That was the one thing. It doesn't matter whether it was somebody like yourself who graduated 2014, 2022, or 1995. Any swimmer I've ever talked to that swam for Dan said the same thing, is that he was a father figure. He was somebody who was approachable, that you could talk to about anything. And I think he needed to be at a school that, especially with engineering being such a high stress major, you couldn't put any more pressure on a person, because Purdue's academic program was already doing enough for you. But hats off to him. I hope he enjoys retirement. I don't know how he's mentioned it. He's like, I don't know how I'm going to survive being away from a pool when that time comes. He goes, I think I'll get used to it. So you talked about, go ahead. Sorry.
Options there, I would say. I mean, I very much would be surprised if he stays away from the pool deck. Dennis Dale did this type of thing where he came in a little bit after he retired, and he actually ended up going on to IU, I think, to help out a little bit there. He came to Purdue, he helped out a little bit with us. So I kind of envisioned Dan doing something like that, maybe coming in, throwing a set at the distance guys. That love just doesn't go away no matter how much golf you get to play. So I expect occasionally.
And it's one of the things you really can't turn off. I used to tell people all the time, like my chlorine addiction will be what keeps me near the pool. And George Kennedy, who was at Johns Hopkins for years, is the assistant at Loyola now. And I don't even know if he's a paid assistant. I think he just comes in because he has the opportunity to. And I think that says a lot about the people wanting to continue to give back to the sport as much as they can. I've known coaches that have walked away, never looked back, and that's great for them. But there are some that have, when they leave a mark, like a guy like George Kennedy or Dan Ross or Dennis Dale, there's another great name, they're going to stay involved. And then you have guys like Jim Steen, who was at Kenyon, who when he walked away, he went fishing. And I think he's still fishing to this day. That was his thing when, even back in the 90s when I swam. I'll be interested to see what Eddie Reese does when Eddie finally hangs it up, because he already tried retiring once. It didn't stick. So I don't know. But you mentioned you were working for Subaru. You had designed plumbing equipment. You dove headfirst into Destro. What really, how do I say this? You're giving up, I'm assuming, a good career, good salary with Subaru, and you're going headfirst into creating a company on a market that there was already another company out there. We're not going to give them a cheap plug, but they're making a product. But what really made you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create it, and it's going to be better? What was really your motivation for starting the company up?
Yeah, so I think I have a good motivation for this that allows a company to be successful inherently if you do it this way, which is I didn't make the product to be a successful business. I made the product because there was a need that needed to be filled. So if you approach it from that angle, if you're filling a need, then being a successful business kind of will be much easier than just coming in and making a product just to sell it, just to make some money. With that said, what happened was I was training for Olympic trials 2016. I couldn't afford one of those big ones that currently exist. So I was like, you know what, with my background in engineering, I think I can do this. So I made one for myself. Started using it, loved it. It was really nice. Some other coaches local in the area were like, hey, can you get that to us? We'd like to try that. Started trying it with them, sold a couple that way. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool hobby. Maybe I can start developing swimming tech on the side. And initially it was just, I'll use this money to just continue to make more stuff, continue to develop, because I really, really like the question of what makes one swimmer faster than the other. How do we make one swimmer faster? What's the difference? That math problem per se really intrigues me still to this day. So that was the goal. And we started getting more sales, and I started putting more time into it, and it just started growing. And there was just this unmet need for whatever reason that the current market hadn't filled. So I think it was 2019, 2018 about. My dad got sick in Pittsburgh. I was living in Indiana. And I started interviewing for jobs in Pittsburgh. because I wanted to be back with him. And, I was just getting these terrible interviews. It was not going well. For whatever reason, I wasn't having good luck. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to move back and I'm going to try to build this airplane on the way down after jumping off the cliff, right? We moved back. My fiance at the time, now my wife, we moved back. I had enough money to kind of pay for rent for like a year or so. So I was in good shape on that end. And I was like, I'm just gonna go full time. I'm gonna devote it. The rest of the time I'm gonna spend with my dad. So that was great because I ended up not only building a business that is what it is today, and then hopefully more in the future. But I got to spend that last year or so with my dad whenever he needed it. So that worked out in more than one way.
That's great. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about a lot of people get into the business world because they want to make money as opposed to maybe filling a need or seeing that an existing area can be improved upon. And I had a good friend of mine who he's phenomenal in what he does. He's diversified. I think originally he was in kind of marketing and advertising, and now he's working in like 7 or 8 different areas. But he's always approached it. He's like, I have to put an investment in, and I know I'm going to take a hit. I'm going to take a loss. This is not going to make any money, but I know that long term, there's going to be success. I'm going to have happy customers. I'm going to have happy people who are going to give me references, who are going to refer me and my products. And I think that is the key to success, because a lot of people go in and think, I'm going to make X number of dollars on this. And that's why businesses fail, because they're either undercapitalized or they don't understand their market. And you hit it, because you're right. There was only one company making products similar to yours. There was another one out of Florida. Unfortunately, I don't know that they're still selling anything, but it was too bulky. And I don't want to say I got in on the ground floor with you. I think you had already moved to Pittsburgh by the time you made this a full-time gig, but we were looking at here at my university of starting, we had money. We were finally getting out of the hole from our fundraising. There were some training things I really want to do with my sprinters, especially, but I've expanded it even more so, but I have limited deck space. And the single tower, when I saw that for the first time, I said, okay, we got something here. Because every other tower I'd see had been big, it had been bulky. It's not something you can get through a doorway. When you were coming up with the ideas, obviously, I'm not going to talk to you about the math and the physics and all that stuff. You would go right over my head. I was pre-law. I stayed as far away from the science building as humanly possible. But when you're developing and you get an order for a single or a double tower, I'm sure the manufacturing process has been significantly refined so you can hammer it out quickly. But when you were looking at these, you obviously saw the other ones and you said, okay, how can we improve on this, and how can we make this a better overall product? What was your mindset of developing the single tower and then obviously eventually the double tower in terms of the efficiency of the product?
Yeah, so the development kind of came down to, once I started getting some orders, they were coming mostly from small clubs, high schools, programs that couldn't afford or didn't have the space or anything like that of the college programs. And I knew that the college programs pretty much were all set. So I'm not going to focus on college too much. I'm going to focus on those little guys. And I looked at, what's the biggest problems that you guys see? They can't fit them. They're too expensive. They can't ship them to their location, things like that. So I said, why do we have all this metal? Because that's the majority of the cost, is this humongous metal frame. Aluminum is very expensive. I thought to myself, if I can get as much metal out of this design as possible, we can bring the price point down now to a place where anybody can afford it. Any team can get one, and they can put the sprinters, the people that need it, on there, and we can fill that need for these athletes and these coaches that they're going to Home Depot and they're screwing holes in a bucket and trying to tow that, which is what I did in high school.
Yep.
So that was the approach. It was generally just to tackle a completely different market.
And I know a lot more small colleges, and I'm sure you're seeing it from a sales standpoint, are looking at these items and saying, okay, well, I can afford this, but I don't have the deck space for it. But you created something to kind of help out with that a little bit as well with the power station. And I know I have a friend of mine who's looking at it for this. That's this big fundraising campaign for this year, is because he does not have the space really. I've been on his pool deck. He doesn't have it. It's not there. But I said, you can mount these to the wall. And he goes, there's options. And he didn't even realize that that was a thing, because he was looking at he was looking at the double towers and he thought that's all that there was. I'm like, well, the single towers will do this, but here's a power station that you can mount. You can get it out of the way a little bit more. I think that's a unique one as well, is that you're giving teams options. Like for me, I have 8 total buckets. I have 4 single towers. I have 2 double towers. The goal is right now I'm going to get 1 more double tower at some point, and that will give me 10. And everybody's like, well, you've got a 6-lane, 25-yard pool. You can put 2 in each lane. So why are you cutting yourself short? And I go, the single towers give me the benefit of those outside lanes where I don't have lane lines and kids could be whacking a ladder or hitting the wall. I can set those up there and still utilize it, and I don't have to worry about it. Plus also I can put butterflyers on there and there's no fear of them killing a teammate. So I think that is something that has played big into for me, the benefits of using the product and everything. And again, I'm not speaking ill of any other company. I just found for my facility, for what I have, and I tried to talk a friend of mine into getting in touch with you for your double towers. He's got, I think he's got 4 of the other companies. So he ended up buying the double. So he bought 2 more. So he had 6, 12 buckets. He said, I figured they might as well be uniform. And I'm like, okay, well, you're the one you're spending the school's money. You're not spending your own, I guess. But one of the things that and we talked about it a little bit off air, one of the toys that I had, and I know I think I was one of the beta versions of this, is the swim meter, which to me is the coolest. There's nothing better than that product. And we talked about the 2.0 is on the way. The beta version, we had our issues, but you were great to work with in terms of getting those upgraded. I love the timing aspect. So talk to me about Swim Meter 2.0 and what to expect from that. And what kind of discount are you going to throw at me?
We'll talk about that off air, I guess, huh?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
No, the Swim Meter 2.0. I have a prototype right here. A little bit nicer, bigger screen, a little bit nicer display, but the majority of the changes are inside. Added some new sensors, added some new algorithms for sensing, so we have much better performance. Any of the issues that we saw with 1.0, with the beta 1.0, those are all pretty much been fixed. Very happy with this, and really the most exciting part is the feedback we're getting from the current beta testers. We've got some really big name beta testers, Cam McAvoy, David Morgan, a bunch of Olympians who are just so excited because they see the potential, and they know how much this is going to improve their game. It's just I'm blown away myself, and I think so are they, by how good the data is coming back, how much information you can collect just from such a simple device. And then we haven't even released the advanced features in the beta yet. And once those come out, I mean, Cam's already talking about writing a book off of this thing, you know, or doing his own research. He's a scientific guy, so it's very exciting. And then just the opportunity it's going to give coaches. I think Cam said the other day, he's like, man, we're going to see people going 19 short course meters soon because of this. This is amazing. So there's just so much excitement from the testers right now that I cannot wait to get this thing mass produced and in people's hands, because once people start seeing it, it's going to click. You know, it's kind of one of those things where people don't know they need it until they see it. So we need to get them to see it. That's the next thing for us.
And for the listeners who are out there who are unfamiliar with the product, and I have 4 of them, it is a device that actually measures the time for 5, 10, 15 meters down the pool. You can use it for 50-meter facilities, 25-yard, doesn't matter. Now, for my sprinters, I will tell you right now, especially my guys, because their egos are out of control sometimes, it's a game for them. I'm the fastest to 5 meters with the line being at 13, or the fastest at 10. And they literally, they just want to outdo each other every single time they push off. And we collected a lot of data this year. I've got to share that with you times wise. And we did different things. We were using the towers with paddles, towers with fins and paddles, raw, or we called it, because there was no equipment whatsoever, what line we were going to, max weight. And I had assistant coaches asking me, well, what are we going to do with this data, coach? And I said, I don't know. That's the beautiful part, is there's so much of it to use to construct your workouts and what your expectations are. And I think that's the exciting thing about this product more than anything else, is that you can collect a lot of data, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Like the first time we used this thing and we were collecting times as well as the weight and with the equipment they were using, we probably had 2 or 3 days worth of data, and we were just staring at it as coaches going, do we graph it? So there's just things that we're still streamlining on our end from a coaching standpoint, and it has fundamentally changed how I'm setting up my practices. Like we used it exclusively with our sprinters at the first end, the towers in general, and then when we got the swim meters, we definitely were using it with them because it was more important, obviously, to find out what their 15-meter power output was than it was for the distance swimmers, although the distance swimmers claimed they could be better. That didn't work out nearly well in their favor. But we were looking at the data and like, okay, now I need to put these kids on these towers more. How do I do that with the limited facility space that I have? I don't have a 50-meter pool where I can set up towers at the other end and say, okay, after you're done with your sets, go hit your tower work or your rack work, whatever. I have limited space. So now it's having me to examine how we adjust our workouts. And I know I've talked to other coaches as well. And I've always believed that swimming, especially now with all the different toys that are out there, the different options that are there, getting as much information in people's hands as possible. And I know when we originally looked at this, when I talked with you about the swim meter, you said this thing's going to have Bluetooth. We're going to develop an app for it. And I'm sure that's all on the horizon. And I'm excited for whenever those drop, because now it's less paper and kids can download that information directly to their phones, and they can take a look at it and go, okay, well, hey, my 5 and 10 has improved, but my 15 has gotten slower. So how much power output am I putting in? And between that and the video editing that the kids love to do, and they get their teammates to take videos of them, it's a fun time to be a coach if you're creative. And I'm excited to use the product more this upcoming year. I'm looking forward to it. And I know there's other companies out there that are kind of looking at similar things for their products, but they're not nearly as far down the road as you guys are. So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, this is not a novel idea. People have been thinking about ways to do this for a long time, but it hasn't been done. And why hasn't it been done? Because it's very difficult to do and do it well. I'll say that. And we've been working on it for quite some time at this point, and that's really why it's taken some time to get to where we are, even though we're very close to mass production of a product that we're really happy with. It's because it's a challenging problem to solve, but we feel that we've solved it. And so in the upcoming months, I expect this to be a huge thing for swimming. I'm just very excited. It's exciting time. It gives that engagement to the swimmers, the motivation that you're talking about. That might be the best part, is just, throwing some water in there and a couple of people, going, oh, okay, let's see what you can do with this. And not only that, but as a sprinter, I've felt that recently with all the dolphin kicking, it's kind of gotten rid of the pure sprinter type of guy or type of girl. Like that guy who comes in, you get him on the team because he's a big guy. He's not necessarily, he's raw, right? You get him in high school, right? This guy, you put him in the 53 and he goes like a 22 or something, and it's amazing. It doesn't look great, but that guy eventually turns into a really good sprinter. Okay. But typically not a dolphin kicker, right? That breed of pure sprinter is kind of going away. But with this new power training, with this new resisted swimming event, we'll call it, it's giving a little bit more of that sprinter back his power, right? Where now it's like, if you can dolphin kick, you win 3 different 100 events. Didn't used to be like that, right? With this, dolphin kickers can't do well in resisted swimming for races. It's just the nature of the physics. So it gives that power back to those pure sprinters.
That's one thing that we actually, I'll design sets for, especially with fins, that are just straight dolphin kicking with the towers. I use them all the time, but when we're ever doing anything that's power based, especially using the swim meter, I will not let them dolphin kick. I think they're allowed 2. It's like, that's it. Because again, the amount of power it generates is incredible. Caleb Dressel has obviously set the standard on that for the sprint events, but I want to see their raw power. I want to see their power at 5 meters, what their time is. And to do that, I want them on top of the water. The same thing. There's another, obviously, the Power Rack, which is another company, which only goes out to 12.5 2.5 meters. I don't want to see the dolphin kick. I don't even let pullouts happen with breaststroke. I want you up on top of the water. I want to see movement. I want to see explosiveness. I want to see that drive, but I also want to see your ability to maintain speed over 25 yards or 25 meters or whatever the distance it's set at. So I think that's something that is, you mentioned those big bulky sprinters. I had one of those that he could, if I got a dolphin kick out of him, I called it a moral victory at that point. And Julio loved the towers. He wanted an official record board on the wall because he had the fastest 5, he had the fastest 10, but he did not have the fastest 15. Right. So, but he knew where his threshold was, and he uses it a lot. He's originally from Brazil, guy who, I don't want to say made you famous internationally, but Bruno Fraudas, I couldn't help but watch all of his workouts, and I still think you should mass produce that attachment that he had for the plate weights, but that's a conversation for off air. But yeah, he loved working on that tower, worked on that explosiveness, and it led to an Olympic medal in the 2020, whatever we're calling it, the Tokyo Games. After so many years, and you see his power, you see his explosiveness, and sprinters always train different. I don't care what anybody says. Again, I'm a former distance swimmer. I've said it numerous times. We grew up, sprinters are lazy. Sprinters don't work nearly as hard. No, they work different. And the power output that they put in, you're seeing it more. They're spending more time in the weight room, and you see them on the towers or racks or with chutes. And the more data that you can give them, because what I have found with my sprinters is that they are 100 times more analytical than the distance swimmers. Mm-hmm. The distance swimmers want to know strategy. They want to know when do we kick this in? When do we start this? The sprinters are technical. They want to know, is my left pinky toe in the right position on the foot plate on the back of the block? Little things like that. They want to see slow motion video. Oh, hey, I can get if I raise my hands 2 centimeters, I'll get this much more lift. They don't have engineering backgrounds. They understand nothing of it, but that's what they think. And they love making it a game. And the more data you can give them, the happier they end up being in a lot of, I got a butterflyer right now who's still trying to figure out a way to pull the tower into the water. He hasn't come close, but he's really trying.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, when you're focusing on an event that short, you have to focus on small details. That's kind of what it is. You know, the faster the event, the shorter the event, the more the details matter, I think. So it makes sense. And, you know, that's been my experience too with these sprinters is it's not just a body type. It's also a mindset as well. It's no coincidence that a lot of them think very similarly.
I think one of the beautiful things that I've enjoyed working with, this sounds like it's going to, and I'm doing an infomercial for your product here, which I kind of am, but I've worked with a lot of different towers and systems that are out there. The one thing that I enjoy working with yours is the fact that the resistance is very smooth. There's not a lot of jerking motion. And I think a lot of other companies have had to reevaluate their engineering because of what you've been able to transition with yours. But the one thing I use it with, and coaches ask me all the time, it doesn't come back fast. I use it for a lot of sprint assist. I'll use it for people cords are better. That's pure speed. But I think to be able to have just that gradual and nice, smooth, fluid return with that weight, it gives you that a little bit more lift and gives you more of that feeling in a taper situation when you're actually going to race. That's something that I think is underrated. I took that from Jim Reitz. Is it Jim or John? John Reitz, who was the head coach at UNLV. He manufactured his own. He had a background in engineering. He hung them from the rafters, and he was using 55-gallon drums. But I saw him doing a lot of 100 swims where it was 25 resist, 25 assist, and it was a little jerky because of the way the pulleys were and everything. But I kind of stole that idea and I incorporated it in with the towers that I use. And I get athletes all the time like, Coach, well, I don't feel that heavy pull. And I go, you're not supposed to. It's supposed to give you a little bit of relaxation so you can focus on that catch and focus on that hand drive. So I think the versatility of the towers, more so than parachutes or buckets, which I use all of them, I think is important for coaches to utilize. And again, make it a game. I don't think there's any one wrong way to train a sprinter as long as they know they're going fast. and they can get a time and see, oh, am I faster this time?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, to speak to the assisted, when you taper, you're only 2 or 3% faster. But the athletes are thinking, I need to be getting pulled by a green cord, which is pulling you, probably 30% faster. It depends on what you're working on. If you're working on, crazy tempo, really feeling the resistance on yourself in order to slip through, learn how to slip through, sure. But as far as actually feeling race speed, you don't need much assistance at all. So yeah, I mean, you nailed it with that.
I think that there's a lot of things that athletes, if they're given an opportunity to feel fast in any way, shape, or form, the benefit of that is incalculable. Even they obviously they love the cords, they love pulling people, and with some of my guys that I've coached over the years, not just here at my current university, but man, you'll get 4 or 5 of them like, coach, we got plenty of room to run here. They would just, yeah. And of course they would take the smallest swimmer on the team. We had a young lady who was doing breaststroke, and I swear it was hydroplane the whole time. She never actually went under the water because the guys were pulling her. And I finally had to put a stop to it. I'm like, somebody's going to eat that wall. Yep. And I think that's the other thing too, is like, there's a safety issue that tower is going to come back slower. It's not going to come back at Mach 1 speed. So you don't have to run the risk of hitting that hand on the wall.
100%.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, we're closing in on the deadline here for the swimming power tower champs. Okay. For the people who are out there, obviously you made an announcement on social media. I've been to the website. I'm trying to figure out how to get my guys into this as quickly as we can. Talk to me about how you came up with this and what it's all about.
Sure. We touched on a little bit with me talking about this new event, which is power race training or racing, because like I said, we're losing. We only have one true sprint event in swimming, the 50, right? And it's becoming in yards. It's a dolphin kicking race. So this gives us a little bit more variety on sprint racing. So it gives people the opportunity to compete across the world in an event that's, not necessarily offered anywhere. And again, it's to encourage that competitiveness that we talked about, make it fun, but on a global level, right? So we introduced this challenge, this competition, and I hope it's something that grows. So you think of things like the CrossFit championships, things like that. We'll just have to see how successful this is, how many people get interested in this. But if you're not familiar with it, basically it's a social media challenge or competition where you do a 25-meter fast or 25-yard fast. We'll convert it if it's meters. You do that fast with the prescribed amount of resistance that we've listed on our website for you, and you're just trying to throw down the best possible time. And it doesn't matter if you win or lose. We are giving away prizes just for entry at this point because we want to encourage people to take part. And we're giving away some pretty big prizes. We're giving away free towers. We're giving away a free swim meter 2.0. So you'll be one of the first to get it with this. And then we are giving away champions prizes because we do want to encourage some competition too. We got some pretty cool shirts we're giving away, a gold medalist for the different age groups, for the different genders. And if you don't have a tower, we're going to do a stretch cord category too. Maybe that's somebody who wants a tower. They can't quite afford one. They get a chance to win one for free. So overall, just a, very fun championship that we hope grows into something more. Maybe one day we do one where it's an actual meet, right? We go to Florida, we go to California, we go somewhere and we set up an actual meet and actually have power championships. It becomes a new event.
I think that would be really cool. You set up on a 50-meter pool or with 22 lanes and you've got towers on all of them. That would be something impressive to see, if nothing else, because you could have them going on each side of the pool. 44 towers on a pool deck would be nuts. And that's just if you had single buckets.
Right. And I mean, not just that, but think about this. We could do other events. Like you could do the big toe event, and it's like 4 buckets or something. They could be all kind, just crazy stuff. You could have some real fun with it.
I've always, like I said, I have the doubles, I have the singles. We've always just used the 1 bucket for one person just because we have to get through so many people. I saw on the Instagram a guy doing a double tower, but he had both buckets hooked up to the same belt. I'm like, please don't ever let any of my sprinters, my guys see that. And sure enough, he's graduated. He's back home in Brazil. I get a text from one of my guys saying, Coach, why didn't we do this? I could do it. I could pull it. I could fill them both up. And I'm like, do you understand? Can you fathom the amount of weight that is? He's like, I could do it. I could totally do it. I said, okay, that's that. Just don't tell the rest of the team. I don't need to hear that.
Right. I mean, it's up to the coaches, what the athletes can do, but we're making the swim meter too, where you can do that. So if you have a swim meter and it's on your tower, you can put two belts on, you can put in, it will go up to the weight for 2 buckets. So you can actually get swim meter readouts for 2 buckets at this point.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, that kind of leads me into my next question is we're talking about the swim meter 2.0. What is next on the horizon for Destro Machine? What are some things that are up on the board for ideas that you guys are considering going forward?
Yeah, sure. I don't want to say too much because it is a competitive.
Right, you don't want to spoil the surprise.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the surprise. Absolutely. I mean, you've touched on some things already that show a need. And again, I look at this from where's the need. Okay, you said, assisted swimming, 100%. We've got a limited range where we can tune that assisted swimming. So that's a challenge that we're looking to tackle, right? Some other things are more refinable resistance levels. We're looking at also 50 meters. We've been asked for 50 meters worth of resistance to be able to resist the whole pool. Another interesting thing that we would like to be able to do is progressive or reducing resistance. So as you swim down the pool, your resistance is slowly coming down, or maybe it abruptly drops off. We want to be able to give you that control too. Or it builds. So as you swim like a stretch cord, you get progressively higher resistance. These are all things that we want to tackle in addition to the app that we still need to release. It's going to support our whole suite of products soon. So you're going to be able to get all this information on all of our different products. That's graphing data. That's video overlay with graph data. And then something you talked about was, I don't know what to do with all the data. That's always been the biggest problem with wearables, right? You get all this data. I mean, you've had a Fitbit, you've had a Oura ring or whatever. You get this data and you go, oh, cool. Yeah, I don't know what to do with it though. The way we handle that, and you'll see this at a very, very high level. They're doing it. They're using AI algorithms to take and crunch all of the data and turn it into something useful for you. So that is eventually something we'd be wanting to do as well, is AI implementation for consumption of your data and giving you very useful information out of it.
I think that's the big one for coaches. Not all of us have a background in either engineering or the exercise science area. And you touched on it, like Fitbit. Oh, look at all the wonderful options. I'm a cyclist. So one of the things that I use a lot is Strava that connects with my bike computer. And I look at all of this stuff and I'm like, what is this? Okay. How do I utilize this? And thankfully there's been a lot of research in the area in cycling about how to taking heart rate monitors, taking GPS computers, taking all of this data and being able to tell you, okay, here's your target heart range, etc. But swimming, they've lagged behind in that. And part of it is because you can't really put a heart rate monitor on in the water and get accurate data. And now we're seeing it with the technology that you're developing with the tower outputs and taking those times and the weights, et cetera. And how is that going to translate into training? I think we're entering an incredible age of coaching and having the ability to use all this technology and integrate it into our training models. I'll probably be out of the game by the time this becomes the most common, but it's nice to see that we're starting to see that growth and that development and how technology is finally getting to a point where it's small enough, it's durable enough, and it's becoming financially reasonable for people to start investing. There's still companies out there that make great stuff and I love it. I just can't afford it at a small college. And I'm not picking on them because they want to do it all the time, but Tritonware, I would love a Tritonware setup. I also know that my fundraising money has to go in very selective places. And I've been very fortunate to have great donors who are all sprinters. So they see the benefits of things like towers and things like that. The one thing so here's my pitch. The one thing I would love to see you guys add to the towers is I don't want to call it an extension, but I guess we'll call it an add-on. So we can have a belt on, we can go from a start, you can get a couple dolphin kicks in and then boom, then the weight kicks in. Okay. I've done it with parachutes, except I have broken more because I get guys diving in the water with such force, and the moment they hit the water, the parachutes then open up and that it's not designed for that kind of force load. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it stops them, but it's also not designed for that kind of force load. So I have broken more of the clips. I've ripped the stitching out. So I've talked with companies on their parachutes. Hey, can you reinforce this? Because this is if I'm coming up with this and I'm not creative, can you only imagine what some of these coaches are coming up with? But that's my big pitch for you, is to come up with an extension so we could do things from a power standpoint from the start. And I'm spitballing, but I look at it, I'm trying to think of different ideas, just seeing what other coaches have adapted. I know one of the ones, I have a coach that he has towers, he has yours, in fact. So he actually bought, it's really thick bungee cord. So as an extension, because he doesn't have room at the other end for his towers. So he has to put them behind his blocks. So he's got a little bit extra of an extension there. And that allows him, the problem was the first one he had was too long. So where the clips were, his kids were kicking him with their heels. So he had to make some adjustments. But those are some things that when coaches look at it, they're like, okay, I know what it's designed for.
Yeah.
What else can I do with it? And they don't understand the physics behind it or the engineering behind it. So sometimes it works out great and sometimes not so much.
I mean, that's okay. We try to design it. It's a tool for you. I'm not your coach. I'm just trying to give you the tools to make your summers better, or just make it more enjoyable there. Whatever it is, I'm trying to give you the tools to do that. And to touch on your point with the extension, I can't promise that we will tackle that problem in that way, but what I can say is that we're working on something that will allow you to do the same thing. It will give you the same effect. Okay.
I want to be a beta tester.
You got it. Just you gotta stick around long enough to be a beta tester.
All right. Well, now I have a new goal for my career. Stick around to play with more toys. I loved Legos growing up. I loved Lincoln Logs. I loved Tinker Toys. So this makes sense that in some way now I'm just getting a little more expensive toys to play with.
I think that's part of getting older. You don't ever grow up. You just get more expensive toys.
Again, getting into cycling, I have discovered that your bike costs one thing, but the rims for the new wheel set for your bike is so much more. And of course, the people at my bike shop, they love me, even though I don't buy a whole lot, because I refer a lot of people to them, and they're like, "Oh, we love it. You send everybody with disposable income." I'm like, "Sorry, I'm not one of those guys. Now you can give me 10% off my next upgrade, or you can take 5% off those disc brakes I want." But so I'll take a referral bonus. Coach, our last segment, we call it 650s on the top, and I call you a coach because you are a coach. It doesn't matter to me. You're doing something that is innovative for the sport. So I call everybody coach that has a part to do with this. So I'm going to give you two things. We got 6 different items. You got to pick this or that. And I've saved number 6. It's a special one for a guy from the city of Pittsburgh. Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. Hulu or Netflix?
Netflix right now, Hulu before, maybe when The Bachelor comes back out.
Are you a guy who would rather sleep in or a guy who would rather stay up later? When you have your eggs, are they scrambled or sunny side up?
Oh, my wife would say, he never can decide. When I make him sunny side up, he wants scrambled, and the other way around.
Would you rather go hiking through the mountains or surf on the ocean?
Ooh, surfing for sure.
All right. So you're an engineer. Means you have a technology background, and every engineer I've ever known in some way, shape, or form has been a gamer. Xbox or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Wow, you didn't even hesitate. That wasn't even a debate. For me, it's always been PlayStation. The only one who has an Xbox in my house is my older son. I joke with people that my relationship with my PlayStation 2 was older than the relationship with my wife at that point. I had pre-ordered the PlayStation 2 before I met her, and we started dating. So she also went with me to the midnight release at Babbage's. So that's how old I am. And our final question, again, a native of Western PA, Pittsburgh specifically, Sarris Candies or Primanti Brothers?
Sarris Candies.
Wow. So I had a teammate. I've never been to Pittsburgh other than I had a layover there for a flight. My dad used to go over to, we were Indians and Reds fans. So you could do that back in the day because there was never any crossover. But it was a shorter drive for us to go to Pittsburgh than it was to go to Cincinnati for where I grew up in Northeast Ohio. So Dad used to go over for games all the time, and he would always get, is it Primanti or Primati or?
I call it Primanti Brothers, but I think there's a little bit of a debate on that.
He loves the sandwiches. He would get that all the time before going to games. I hear Joe Manganiello, who was a native son of Pittsburgh, talk about it all the time. And so there was a question I knew I was going to throw out there, but I had to do the research to find something else that was out there that was a staple of the Western PA, Pennsylvania, Western PA, Pittsburgh area. So a little bit of a sweet tooth there, huh, Coach?
Yeah, I threw you off a little bit with that one, but we that's always been a tradition in our family. Christmas, Easter,
Oh
my
yeah.
mom loves it, so that means a lot to me. That candy for sure. And Primanti Brothers, it's great. It's great. Don't get me wrong, for sure. Definitely a staple, but this one's kind of a personal thing.
That's awesome. Well, Chuck, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time out. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to be unleashing here in the next couple months or so. Hopefully we'll get some updates on how the Swimming Power Championships are going. For those of you who are listening, you can check out everything that they have to offer at destromachines.com. Follow him on Instagram at destro_machines. Great having you. Hopefully we'll catch up down the road, and I'm sure I'll be sending a PO to you for some equipment here in the near future.
Hey, that'd be great. Thanks. That just helps to fund, the next technology that we're coming out. So appreciate it.